Well, when I got here, everyone seemed I'm not as tall as the president. When I got here, everybody seemed a little nervous and a little uptight. So I asked His Excellency, the President, I said, do I really have to follow all the protocol? And he said, I would be very surprised and disappointed if you did follow all the protocol. So I want to mention that I'm going to have lunch with the President at his ranch afterwards. So you probably think I dressed like this for you, but I didn't. I dressed for the ranch. So this is what I always wear to the ranch. And I've never had such a fancy cap. But I do want to start again, not to be too redundant, but by thanking some people who were very critical to making this happen. And I want to start with Your Excellency, the President Kagame. This institution would not be here today without his leadership. I want to say thank you to the honorable ministers, the governor, the mayor, and the other elected officials, the local elected officials that are here today, and to the staff, RICA's leadership, and to the other distinguished guests, which there are many here today. Greetings on this incredible milestone of honoring the first graduating class of the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture, RICA. I'm pleased to be here today as RICA's chancellor and as chairman and CEO of our foundation, almost exactly 5 years ago after the original groundbreaking ceremony. Before I confer degrees on the 75 future leaders in agriculture who are graduating today, I want to thank many of the people who made this possible. I know this is always a little painful to go through all the thank yous, but it's pretty important today because this is a great opportunity and a great honor to be here. 20 years ago, a well-known and successful American investor, I was at a board meeting and he said to me, he said, Howie, give me one idea. And he really emphasized it. He says, I don't want two, I don't want three, I want one idea. I want one idea that could be transformational for countries in Africa, for the continent of Africa. I didn't hesitate in my response because I knew the answer. I said, every country in Africa needs its own version of a land-grant university. You may not all know a land-grant university, but they were the original colleges and universities established in the United States, and they transformed American agriculture 175 years ago to make it what it is today. Such an institute would be devoted to practical training, to more sustainable solutions, and operated in the context of appropriate agriculture for the specific country where it would be located. Very importantly, it would be informed by and designed for local needs, local research, and local extension. That's what the land-grant university in America was built on, was education, research, and extension. The Institute would train the next generation of leaders in agriculture to help countries reach their highest and best potential, both in agriculture but across their national priorities. 10 years ago, we decided at the foundation that we were going to try to fund this idea. To do it, we had to find the right partner. And it would be an understatement to say we found the right partner in Rwanda. Rwanda was the only partner on the continent that we could have selected. And I just want to say, I don't say that lightly because I've been to every country on this continent. I've been to a few conflict zones on this continent. We spent 20 years working in South Africa. We had a research farm there for over a decade. We had a cheetah reserve there. I've seen a lot of Africa. I told my daughter, Heather, who is here today, I said, when you come to Rwanda, you're not going to see the real Africa, but you're going to see the future of Africa. So we are very grateful to the government of Rwanda, starting from the president's office through the ministries and everyone locally that also helped make this happen. I have to stop and thank the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, a significant and steadfast commitment that they made to not help us get this built, but also to stay with us and to create the curriculum and to see this graduating class to the end, which is just the beginning. But we could not have designed this and made it work without the university. But the key thing about the University of Nebraska is they understood when they came to Rwanda, this is not about bringing the University of Nebraska. This is not about bringing Nebraska or the United States or Western thinking to Rwanda. This is about bringing the concept that we know works to transform agriculture and make it what it needs to be for Rwanda, for Rwandans, in Rwanda. And that's what we've done. I have to thank the RICA's vice chancellors. I don't think I was ever born to be a chancellor, but you got me up here, so I'm going to thank the guys who did the real work, Dr. Ron Rossetti and Richard Ferguson, who have been amazing, and to RICA's deputy. First of all, they've been amazing because they put up with me, but then also the deputy vice chancellors, Lydia, Jean-Claude, Magnifique, and Michelle. Lydia, you've been here a long, long time. And Magnifique and I go way back to when we started Nashville. I know what an amazing person he has been on that project as well. This team took a big idea and made it a reality, successfully tackling and overcoming some unimaginable and unexpected challenges. But RICA would not exist without your dedication and your work over the last 5 years, so thank you again. I know there are many others on your respective teams that worked long hours, and I'd like to be able to thank every one of them, but unfortunately today we can't go name by name. But I thank you, our team thanks you, I know Ann thanks you for everything that you did to make this a reality. To the Eastern Province and Bugesera District, thank you. I know that many of the families and the mayor, I know that many of the families from this district not just built this institution, but they are helping it continue to operate. So thank you for that. Finally, and perhaps in some ways the most important, RICA would not exist without these graduates deciding that they would come to the school. And as the Vice Chancellor said, taking a little bit of a risk, but I can tell you taking a little risk in life is worth it. RICA was a risk. And I want to thank their parents, because without the parents bringing these students to the point where they could come into a university like RICA, we wouldn't have them. So thank you. RICA is about the future of agriculture, but it's also about leadership and entrepreneurship. And we are going to see that, as we already heard, of 60% or more of this class being ready to go out and go to work. We're going to see that happen in this country, and we're very proud of that. You know, it's easy to think about agriculture as something very simple. I remember the first time Ann and I sat down at the girls' school here in Rwanda, and a couple of the young women said, "We don't want to be farmers. We don't want to be in the field with a hoe, and we don't want to be chasing cows around, and we just don't want to do that." And I can remember trying to convince them that's not really agriculture today, and it may be part of what you do some of the time. You don't always get to do everything that's fun. But I said agriculture is about science and math and technology. It's about improving lives. It's about feeding people. It's about taking care of the land and the natural resources so that the next generation can produce even more than what we do today. It's about transforming your country and its economy. And it's about supporting farmers to improve their lives. Your education and your leadership will change the way that people view agriculture, not just in this country, but across Eastern Africa and the continent. Many of you, as we've heard, will be entrepreneurs. You'll develop your own companies and your own industries, and you'll create jobs. And that, at the end of the day, is what makes everything successful. So I congratulate you on your hard work and what it took for you to get here over the last 4 years. And I challenge both you when you become alumni and the new students that are coming in and the faculty that will be here to continue the work and the commitment to make RICA the most successful institution in Rwanda. I want to provide a few personal thoughts that I hope you'll consider after you leave this campus. Education is important, but it's not the only thing that will make you successful. There are some very basic elements of human behavior that will determine how well you do throughout your life. Your judgment, your ability to anticipate, your foresight, and your strength to say no, because sometimes you need to say no. Your willingness to accept failure, because failure is what will ultimately make you successful, and your acceptance and forgiveness of other people. These will all impact everything you do, and they will ultimately determine how successful you are as an individual. My dad used to tell me this story. He told it to me a lot of times. He must have been worried about me. He would tell me, and just think about this. If every day you get up, when you get out of bed, whatever you decide to do that day, if you read about it, and your parents read about it, and your friends read about it on the front page of the newspaper, would you be okay with that? Now, when you get up in the morning and you think about that, there's some things you don't do that day. And there's some mistakes that will prevent you from regretting. He also told me something that was probably one of the most important things he ever said to me, which was, it takes 30 years to build a reputation, and it takes 5 minutes to ruin it. You don't want to work. You don't want to come through and graduate from RICA. You don't want to work your entire life and then ruin your reputation over one mistake. And if you succeed in your goals, which many or all of you will, you're going to face some very difficult decisions. And I know this from my own experience. Some you're going to wish you did not have to make, but you'll have to make them. And sometimes you're going to make the wrong decision, but that comes with responsibility. You cannot have responsibility without the difficulties that come with it. So you must be able to pick yourself up and move forward when things don't go the way you want them to. You have to put the mistakes behind you, and you can't look back. I'm going to tell you one more thing my dad told me that has saved me a lot of trouble through my business career, which many of you want to become business people. He told me, he says, you can never make a good deal with a bad person. And you need to remember that, because there'll be times that you want to do something so badly. You think, this is the thing. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. But it's not with the right person. It's not with a good person. It's not a person that shares your values and your principles. Then don't do it. Walk away from it. You can never want to deal with something so bad that you cannot walk away from it, and you need to remember that. So my last word of advice is one you've heard many times from many places, but it will definitely affect how you feel about yourself in the long run. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's the most simple advice anybody can give you, but it may be the hardest advice to live by. But try it. It works. And finally, just when you thought I was done, at least thanking people, there are just a few people I have to say something to that I see here in the audience. One of them is Joe down here in the front. Joe, along with Stefan, who's hiding in the back where he's always hiding. These two guys were part of our foundation of building RICA. You don't know them like I know them, but they started 10 years ago. Well, Stefan goes back 25 years ago or something, but they started in the very beginning discussions about how we were going to do this. And without them, we wouldn't be here. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Stefan. And anyone who knows me at all knows my style is to move quickly. I take a lot of risk. I rarely look back, and I keep moving forward. Now, that only works if you have someone that's balancing those actions. A person who is committed to your ideas, but can tell you when a good idea is not such a good idea. And then you need to have the confidence in that person that you listen to them. Ann Kelly Bolton recognized Rika not as just a good idea, but a great idea. Without Ann, this campus would not be here, and there would be no graduating class. So thank you is completely inadequate, but Ann, thank you. And thank you for her family for coming.